parent whatever you're struggling through.
But
If this is for all students up until high school, and high schoolers are only go up to age 18 most of the time. There's like a few 19-year-old high school students, and until you turn 19, the SROs, the student resource officers, are required to tell the parents whatever information the student tells them, and that's just a huge violation of privacy. Like, if you know anything about mental health therapy, you know that you're only allowed to share confidential information if it endangers the life of others or the life of yourself.
But it is endangering. I'm sorry. I understand, but you realize that this is not a problem with the bill because legally speaking, people under the age of 18 do not typically have the right to therapy confidentiality. It's not a thing that it exists. Minors do not have that right. Parents are entitled to know if their children are bullied, if their children are suicidal. That does not mean that counseling did not work. It means that legally speaking, a minor cannot have that right. And what did you say?
It is, and you were saying how it should only be made, therapy should only be made out of privacy if it's people's lives are in danger, but children's lives are in danger. You guys mentioned the Columbine case. In that case, it specifically had parents known about the mental state of those two boys that shot up the schools. Potentially people's lives could have been saved. So
You said the parents were the ones who knew about it?
in the Columbine case, if the parents had knew beforehand, potentially the two shooters could have been stopped. So this act allows for that to happen. That's our first line of defense.
There were still student resource officers on campus at Columbine. They just are planning on doubling that amount. The students still have the opportunity to reach out. It's not like they're going to be, these new student resource officers are going to be vastly better than the last ones. They're going to be doing the same thing.
That's all assumptions right there.
Yes, that's all.
None of it is proven, none of it is facts.
Well,
That is all
proof
assumptions.
that will happen?
There is proof. I just didn't know that.
And also earlier.
And you realize, and we live in a nation that one every 5 Americans have to choose between actually getting mental help or paying for necessities. So when you say that counseling is enough when it's not, counselors are very overwhelmed. They're responsible for hundreds of children, and
that is time. Okay, final speaker for the evening, please.
Today, I believe my team won the debate, and I think everyone should too if they consider themselves proud and true to the red, white, and blue. Even after what was said from the opposite side, the U.S. federal government should pass the Securing Our Schools Act of 2022. With this act being passed, money can be used to help solve the crisis in our country regarding school shootings. So that again, we can ensure that all public schools across America can be safe for children to learn and teachers to teach. One of the many reasons why we need to have this money made available to go towards school security measures is to provide a safer environment for the students and the staff that are in the schools. It is necessary that all public and private schools be protected. And to do so, we need to take advantage of these funds that have been made available so that they can be put to good use. As Nebula stated previously, we need the funds that have been made available due to public health emergencies, in other words, the COVID fundings, to be made available for school security measures. School resource officers will not only be required to be armed with equipment that would allow them to neutralize a threat, such as a semi-automatic rifle, a handgun, a taser, etc., but the bill also states that school resource officers will be required to conduct annual training of security to ensure that their everlasting ability to protect students and staff with the equipment they provide. A common misconception is that more officers on campuses equals a prison-like environment for students. Well, according to the University of Florida News, researchers found students who have many interactions with an SRO reported feeling that the officer did contribute to the school's safety. Students who reported more trust in and comfort talking to SROs also reported feeling safer at school. And according to a chief at Arizona University, teachers and school administrators also reported feeling safe in schools with the SRO program implemented. So having more officers in schools actually causes more students to feel safer, and again, the Securing Our School Act of 2022 will allow students more and better trained school resource officers. The Securing Our School Act of 2022 main focus is to enforce that children be safe from potential and active mass school shooters. The argument that bringing officers with big guns to schools, campuses is scary and dangerous is ineffective and has been debunked by my team today. Because as previously stated, guns such as semi-automatic rifles, a handgun, or a taser are the only weapons that can be effectively used to take down an active school shooter besides awareness and counseling, which is the act's first line of defense to prevent school shooters. Another big point to why I believe my team won this debate is because we have to remember these are the lives of children we are talking about, and they deserve to go to a place where they learn and feel secure. Having this bill passed will give this security back to these students in a time where mass shootings across America are literally happening at alarming rates. How many more mass shootings must occur while woke Democrats decide what exactly to do? There is no room for a debate in race theory, as unforgiving as that may sound, and that is simply because race theory is a completely different discussion that is outside the realm of this bill. Lastly, Securing Our School Act of 2022 Act is to protect schools from mass shooting. This bill is not concerned with what children are learning while in history, but rather concerned with keeping students alive to be able to learn in classes such as history class. A research paper done by Dr. Daniel J. Flanner noted that most shooters were depressed, had experienced some significant loss, felt persecuted, bullied by others, and had prior difficulty coping or had previously tried suicide. Another article shows that many school shooters were male, with a high percentage having experienced school bullying, isolation because of not getting along with others. Another study by the University of Florida, I quote, the team found students who have many interactions with an officer.
Time. Alright, when you're ready.
Alright, you guys mentioned that the first line of defense is the mental health officers. And yeah, I know. Alright, so never mind. Let me just add that. In conclusion, the mental health officers is a good step in the right direction. However, the way it's implemented could be better. And using the having more heavily armed guards in school. You mentioned through a study that students around guards, they do not feel intimidated when they're armed. However, these are not regular school guards that we are going to be implementing. They'll be carrying semi-auto rifles, two concussion grenades, a handgun, and a taser. And they're just going to be walking around the hallways. I can imagine that would be intimidating for me, walking around the hallways. Secondly, if they're already on campus, that does cut down the response time for police officers by a meeting time of 3 minutes. But just like in the Uvalde shooting, just because they're on campus does not mean they will be able to stop the shooter. They were on campus for 55 minutes before they even engaged and neutralized the shooter. In the meantime, the shooter was shooting. Using the critical race theory and pro-abortion have nothing to do with the safety of our schools. They should not be included in this bill at all. This bill should be focused completely on protecting our students. And talking about critical race theory and pro-life or anti-abortion has nothing to do with the safety of our students. It is just a way to sneak in some of his own personal agenda in something that most people can agree with, that students do need to be protected in our schools. And sneaking in critical race theory and anti-abortion propaganda is not the way to go about it. Yes, it is. And y'all mentioned that there was only 2 lines talking about critical race theory, and they're just some big lines. My laptop just died. That's not great. And yeah, we've seen statistics from the Action Network that talks about how over the past decade we have seen militarization in our police, and if we militarize our schools, we will be experiencing the same issues that we've experienced just in our police with our police. The police that are given more weapons, they feel more inclined to use them, and we've seen this disproportionately used against minorities. Like I mentioned before, we have seen student resource officers rip minority students out of their chairs for minor infractions, like talking in class, wearing headphones, or school inappropriate clothing, which, if you know anything about dress code in high schools, it's kind of outrageous, especially for girls. They mentioned, never mind, that's, and then, yeah, y'all talk about how it's gonna turn into a prison-like environment, or it won't turn into a prison-like environment. That's up for debate. I can imagine having external gates with locks, walking into a school, getting metal detected down, having checkpoints to where you can only get in one way, get out one way. That's a huge fire hazard. Don't know how that even got into the bill. And yeah, adding $30.5 billion for this bill, 15 billion of that I believe goes to the mental resource officers. And yeah, also if there is a shooting on campus and students are trying to escape, these locked doors are gonna prevent that. Whenever you hear about school shootings, the 3 steps are run, hide, fight. And if all the doors are automatically locked, then how are you supposed to run? You're gonna be trapped, and depending on where you are, it's gonna be hard to hide. And I don't think anyone wants to fight a shooter who is armed. And growing the trust with the mental health professionals is the biggest thing we could work on.
That is your time.
Who won?
They don't tell us, right?
No, the professor said you can tell us.
Really?
Yes, he really did.
I don't want to.
I'm not gonna lie, there it is.